stopping by the channel. This is going to be my recap and review for Real Housewives of Orange County. Happy Sunday. Not really feeling this franchise right about now, but let's get into this. The episode opens up where it left off, where we have Emily, Gina, and Noella like talking away from the table, and then them coming back. Mind you, y'all, this whole entire like dinner scene was so like chaotic and awkward, because it's like half the table is drunk off their behinds, the other half of the table is like annoyed and wants to have serious conversations, where it's like you can't have a serious conversation with someone that's drunk. Like, you just can't. So then it was stupid to me. So they sit down, and like all of a sudden this conversation about like the guys come up. So we go back to California and we see Terry, Shane, and then what's her name, Gina and Shannon's boyfriends all having dinner together. And you know, they're talking about like where they see themselves in 5 years with the ladies and blah blah blah. Everyone's in a good place. So then we hop over back to Mexico, and it's weird because Jen and Heather leave the table, and it was after Noella was being kind of obnoxious and like airing out herself because they were so hot, and they left. I assumed from them leaving, because they left for a very long period of time, that they had got back on the charter bus and went back to the villa. Like, it was a very long amount of time before we saw them again, because at the table all that's left is Emily, Gina, Noella, and Shannon. So Emily asks a question like, who would, like, Shannon, would you have a threesome? Shannon is like, no, me and my man, like, we're good where we're at. Then the conversation came up to be like, you know, I'm really happy with him. We're on the same page. You know, he's to the point where he's like, if we're not having dinner together and he goes out, you know, it's like he's a single man, which was awkward, because I'm like, is he saying that when he's not with you, he's single? But I don't think Shannon said it right, and I'm willing to give her a pass because sis was drunk. So then Gina's like, whoa, what? No, Shannon, that's not right. Which, in the context of Gina, is right. Like, that's not right that like when you're not together, he's single. So then all of a sudden, Noella's like, tag me in, Shannon, tag me in, I'm gonna help you. So then Noella's like, the conversations that we've had, I realized for you that your children are your she said your children are your soulmates. And so next thing you know, Emily and Gina are like drunk and having fun with each other. And then Heather is like checking on Gina, because it seemed like Gina was about to cry. It really got weird. So Heather's like touching her forehead. And then so that makes sense. That's when Heather and Jen get up. Is after she touches Gina's forehead to check on her. So then Noella's like, did she just touch your face? And I'm like, you've never had someone do that before? I've had a few people be like, Leah, you look hot, and be like, put their hand on my head and be like, oh God, like, girl, you burning up. But like, it's weird because Noella makes all these issues about what Heather does. That's weird. Because you don't like her. So it's like, you don't like her, then why do you care so much about her? Like, what she does to other people in the group. It's just weird. It's weird. So then Noella gets frustrated because Emily and Gina are drunk. Obviously, they're yelling, they're giggling, they're having a good time, and she gets up to sit closer to Shannon, but when she says it, she calls them children, or it says they're acting childish. So then Gina and Emily get upset, and they're like, you know, Emily's like, man, F this, I'm leaving. So Gina's like, okay, I'm following you, because they're friends, they're like best friends. So then Shannon's like, get over here, where the you going? Because she's drunk. So it's like Noella got up, calling them childish, to sit beside Shannon, who's clearly drunk. So then Noella is like trying to get Emily and Gina to come back, but then you have Gina saying like, you know, the things you say to people, like, you always take over everything, which Noella does, or she makes it she tries to make it a moment, and it's like, it's not needed. And so I'm just like, okay, cool. So they come and sit back down. So everyone's sitting back down. The night resumes itself. And then Heather tells the ladies, like, okay, tomorrow we're breaking off into groups. You got Heather, Shannon, Gina, and Heather's friend who's actually in Mexico at a different resort. They're going to look at land to survey for Heather to start building her Mexican vacation home. And then Noella, Gina, and Emily are going to a sweat lodge. So it's the next day. Noella's upset because she says she doesn't like fighting with Gina, that she was crying and she was anxious all night. But I'm like, you put yourself in these types of situations and it's weird. It's weird. Noella is weird to me, y'all. So they apologize, like semi-apologize, and they act like they're just going to move past it. And the crazy thing about it is it's like Emily, Gina, and Shannon don't remember too much of what happened last night because they were that drunk. So it's kind of like you being mad at them or being upset with Gina. It's kind of like, is it really worth it? Like, yes, you can be perturbed by the words that she used like against you, but it's like she was drunk and doesn't remember. So are you really going to get an effective apology from that? So they're at the sweat lodge. The ceremony guide, she seems really cool and knowledgeable. She puts them they go into the sweat lodge. It gets 120 degrees in there. And like the cameras couldn't come in there because it didn't even look big enough for cameras. But we can hear the women on their mics. And it sounds like hell in there. You got Gina saying this is so hard. I didn't think it was going to be this hard. And it's like, Emily and like all of them are in their green screen saying that like they're crying, there's snot coming out, they're burning up. Like there was a picture, they said it was 120 degrees in there, so it's hot. They're all exhausted, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, we need to get help for Noella. So Noella ends up like, I think it was exhaustion. They have to like call the paramedics. They pick her up, take her to one of the areas that's like more open with air, and like they're giving her water. I think that happens often at this type of stuff because the ceremony lady and her helper, they weren't fazed by it. Like she even said in Spanish, like, give her room. So I guess this has happened before where people have gotten like heat exhaustion and they just need to lay down in a nice warm, like a cold area to let their body like reset itself to go back to homeostasis. But I was just like, sis, okay. No, I'm not 120. It was 102 degrees. That's still even hot. That's still way hotter than your body can handle. Probably if it was 120, they'd be dead. They probably would be dead. They would be dead. Like, you'd be boiling your insides. So they get her. We find out, like, Noella's okay. She's fine. She was embarrassed, but I'm just kind of like, you put yourself in that situation. The women just seem like so exhausted. You had Emily saying like all this trauma that she thought was gone just welled up out of her. You got Gina saying, I want you to be okay and happy, but you're not happy. And she was crying. She was like, I thought this was supposed to be like a good, a release. You got Noella saying the same thing. So I guess that brung up a lot of things for them that they thought they had gotten over or moved past. So while they're doing the sweat lodge, you have Jen, Heather's friends, Shannon, and Heather surveying like properties. So they look at one of the architect Bing's properties. It's a $13 million home. I wasn't that impressed by it. I mean, I thought the best part of the home was the actual, what's it called? The actual library. I thought the library was beautiful. But in the back of my mind, I was like, whose house is this? Like, whose house? Like, who is selling this home? Because, I mean, like, I don't know too many people who has $13 million homes in Mexico. And it's just kind of like, well, I don't know a lot of people that have that much money. But I was just like, the home just kind of seemed dated. But I guess this was just so for him to show his work. And it was a nice home. So then they go to this one area where it's like they have the oldest building in Mexico, which I don't know, y'all. I felt weird about Heather being by there because I was like, shouldn't the Mexican people be able to like build near that? Like that's their land. I don't know. It felt very colonizer-ish. But they're building their home between two lighthouses. And the home is going to cost them $15.5 million, which I guess that was not their budget before. I guess their budget was supposed to be like, so I took a screenshot. So basically they said the designer cost is $500 per square feet. You times that by 15,000 square feet, because that's how big the home will be. That comes to $7.5 million plus $8 million to own that plot of land so that they can build, to give you altogether $15.5 million. And in my mind, I feel like that's just overkill. And the reason why I feel that way is just kind of like, I would get it if that was supposed to be like their home. Like, excuse me, y'all. If they were moving from Mexico, like from LA to Mexico, I would get it. But just for them to go there for vacations, I feel like that's pointless. To me, that's pointless. But I ain't got that kind of money, so maybe to them that's not pointless. So then we see Noella, Emily, and Gina on the beach, and they're chilling. And then the topic of like, oh, how are you getting home? Which I'm kind of like, how do y'all not know how you getting home? Like, you going back on a plane or not? You taking a boat or not? You're driving home or not? Like, I'm confused. So Emily blurts out that like Gina actually had to coerce Heather into letting Noella come. And Gina basically was like, no, I didn't. But like the topic of like, oh, going back on a private plane. And Gina was like, I got to figure out if Heather knows how many people are coming, because they didn't think Noella was coming. So then Noella was like, so basically she only invited me to pity me. And I'm like, yeah, duh. Like this is the part that's weird about Noella. It's like, you don't like Heather, but you expect Heather to be nice to you, but you don't like her. So if you don't like her, why do you expect her to, and she knows you don't really vibe with her, why do you expect her to give you like respect or like, well, no, because everybody is deserving of respect. But I don't know. I don't understand what Noella wants from Heather, because it's like, you don't like her. So why did you expect her to invite you on this trip? And every time you're like, oh, I thought me and Heather were moving past this and this trip was an olive branch. But since you got here, since day one, you've been like shading Heather. So it's stupid to me. It's stupid. So we then see Dr. Jen. She been complaining about her leg, and and I don't know, she's boring. She is boring. Like, not saying that that her being in pain is like supposed to be entertainment, but other than this storyline of her leg being her being in constant pain with her leg, it's kind of like you don't have anything else to offer. We're starting to see the cracks in her marriage. She feels like Shane couldn't give her, not Shane, Ryan or Rain, whatever the man's name is. She's upset because she's like, I guess she has to constantly work out her leg in order for her not to be in pain. Because right now she says her leg is like radiating pain right now. So she's in the workout room and she's on the elliptical and she's going, and she calls her husband. He's not really very emotional like for her, and I guess he wasn't giving her the words that she needed, and she was just frustrated and she was crying because she was in pain and she was just tired, basically. So then it's the last night. They decide to do like tequila barrel tasting, and nothing really happened, y'all. Really, other than like Heather finally saying, like, telling Noella that she wasn't happy that she gave her daughter pornography. And some people online were speculating that it was crimes against humanity. But here's my thing, and this is why I'm kind of like side-eyeing Noella. And my thing with Heather, we get it. Heather don't like Noella, and Noella doesn't like Heather. But it's weird to me, like I keep saying, that Noella expects some type of like kindness towards somebody that she has kind of shown that she doesn't like. I thought it was like a bit much for Heather to be like, you gave my daughter pornography, when she didn't in fact give the girl pornography. Some people were speculating that it was crimes against humanity, but either way, it was an inappropriate gift to give a 17-year-old that like you don't know. You don't know her. Like, you just met her, and this is not a gift you give somebody. It's like, y'all, you're not the fun auntie. Like, you don't have that rapport with her or with Heather for you to be giving her a gift like that. And then Noella rubbed me the wrong way when she was like, I am a bisexual, liberal woman. And I'm like, what does this have to do with this conversation, ma'am? Like, I was happy Shannon, even though I got tired of Shannon like yelling, but when Shannon was like, girl, just apologize and let her know like you didn't mean to, like you didn't buy the gift to be offensive or to be some sneaky stuff. You bought it because you typed in like LGBTQIA gifts to give to teens in the Amazon bar, and you just picked it because it was cute and you gave it to the kid. But when Heather started to read out what was being said, Noella was like mortified and embarrassed because she realized that like, okay, I should have just said I'm sorry, because she didn't even know that's what those cards said because she didn't look at them. So I kind of was just like, girl, all you really had to do is say, you know what, I didn't give your child pornography, and I didn't give it to her in order to like corrupt her in any way. But like, if you were offended by it, I'm sorry, and move on. Because that's not technically, like, it was a pointless conversation. And now Noella has like a hard, like, now she's upset. Then Heather got upset because Noella kind of tried to make it seem like Heather was like coming at her and trying to like disrespect her, like, because she said straight fragility. And I was like, ma'am, all of you women at this table have white fragility. Like, let's call a thing a thing. Noella don't even look like, she doesn't look black. So like, she looks very ambiguous. So it's like, don't act like you didn't use that, like you don't use that to your advantage. So it just came off really like Heather said, calculated for her to be like, I'm a biracial liberal bi woman. And I was like, okay, and you still gave a gift that she thought was offensive. Just apologize and move on. Honestly, y'all, I'm kind of over them. Like, I thought this reboot, or like not reboot, but this resurgence of bringing Heather back would do something. But it's kind of like this franchise is flatlining for me. I think they should bring back Tamra and Vicky. I honestly feel like, and like I said, this is like nobody on this cast is very likable in all regards. You got Noella, who's obnoxious and an asshole. Heather is pretentious, and we love the opulence and wealth, but she's a stick in the mud. Like, she's not fun. She's too controlling. Shannon is cool sometimes, but Shannon was a lot more fun when she played off of Vicky and Tamara. Gina is a groupie for Heather, and it's annoying because you've been on this franchise just as long as Heather. Like, stand up. Like, for real, stand up and stand in your housewivesness or whatever. And then Dr. Jen is boring. Like, she brings nothing to the table. Like, I don't really care about this conversation about her having issues in her marriage with Shane, and Shane feeling like he doesn't get enough attention from her. I don't care. And then Emily is an asshole, but she's moving the plot along. Honestly, I don't care. I need them to do something. Give me something. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic. Drop down in the comments below and let me know what y'all thoughts are. Deuces.